A loud scandal has erupted between Azerbaijan and Russia, and by the way, it's not the first one in recent months. The authorities of Azerbaijan criticized Russia after a raid by Russian law enforcement in Yekaterinburg, during which several natives of Azerbaijan were killed, and dozens were detained on suspicion of a crime committed 20 years ago. In Azerbaijan, all holidays and activities related to Russia and Russian culture have been cancelled, effectively banning everything Russian. In Baku, the visit of the Azerbaijani parliamentary delegation to Moscow was also cancelled because of this. And here is a telling quote from the Azerbaijani Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Demonstrative, targeted killings and acts of violence on ethnic grounds committed by law enforcement agencies of the Russian Federation against Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg without trial or investigation. And this scandal could result in the Kremlin effectively losing yet another partner in the region. My name is Alexei Pechi. It's June 29th on the calendar. Let's figure out this story together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, leave a like and write any comment you want. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, first a brief context, then we'll go through the details. The authorities of Azerbaijan criticized Russia after a raid by Russian law enforcement in Yekaterinburg, which resulted in the deaths of several natives of Azerbaijan and the detention of dozens more. According to Russian media reports, on Friday in Yekaterinburg, more than 50 natives of Azerbaijan were detained in connection with an unsolved criminal case regarding the murder of Yunis Pashayev in 2001. The main suspects in this case, brothers Gusein and Ziadin Safarov, died shortly after being detained. Russian law enforcement officials stated that they felt unwell, but such an absurd explanation for the murder was not accepted by the Azerbaijani public. The next day, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan announced that the Russian ambassador Petr Volokov had been summoned, and a strong protest was expressed to him regarding the detention of Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg. The Azerbaijani side emphasized that during the detention, 2 of its citizens were brutally killed, several people were seriously injured, and 9 people were arrested. On Sunday, it became known that all cultural events in Azerbaijan planned by Russian state and private institutions had been cancelled. In addition, the visit of the Azerbaijani parliamentary delegation to Moscow was also cancelled due to the demonstrative targeted killings and acts of violence on ethnic grounds committed by the law enforcement agencies of the Russian Federation. And now let's talk in more detail about how Russian Nazis are fighting against non-Russians. On June 27, mass detentions of people from Azerbaijan took place in Yekaterinburg, Russia. About 50 people were taken to the investigative committee to check their involvement in murders and attempted murders committed between 2001 and 2011. The 2 main suspects, brothers Gusein and Ziadin Safarov, have died. And now Russian law enforcement officials have stated that they died, that is, during investigative actions due to heart problems. They say that they felt unwell specifically during the arrest. But as it turned out, by a strange coincidence, 3 more men ended up in the hospital after being detained. And one of them, Kamal Safarov, is in intensive care. Well, apparently he also has heart problems. The next day, the investigative committee of the RFI announced that it had stopped the activities of an ethnic criminal group. A criminal case was opened against its members for the murder of a group of people by prior conspiracy, contract killing, and attempted murder. And yes, you heard that right. The Russian authorities specifically emphasized that it was an ethnic group. According to the Russian investigation, the detainees are suspected of being involved in the murder of Yunis Pashayev, who died in the hospital from stab wounds inflicted on him in May, the year 2001. At that time, the investigation was unable to bring charges against the Safarov brothers, and the detainees are also suspected of organizing the attempted murder of Feruz Shah in 2011. He is another resident of Yekaterinburg of Azerbaijani origin. Well, that's it. The Azerbaijani Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded to the mass detentions in Yekaterinburg, calling the actions of the security forces unacceptable violence. In Azerbaijan, all cultural events organized by state and private enterprises from Russia have been cancelled, including all exhibitions, concerts, performances, festivals, and so on. This decision was made in connection with the demonstrative, targeted, and extrajudicial killings and acts of violence committed by Russian law enforcement agencies against Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg. Such incidents have recently become systematic, says the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan. But that's not all. Let me remind you that in early June, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan was outraged by a statement from Vladimir Medinsky, an aide to the Kremlin's leader, who mentioned Nagorno-Karabakh while speaking about the war unleashed by Russia against Ukraine. June 10th, when the negotiations took place in Turkey, Medinsky, in an interview with a propaganda television channel, stated that if the war in Ukraine is not stopped now and a real peace is not agreed upon, the situation will resemble Karabakh. Next is a quote from Medinsky. You know, there was such a disputed region between Armenia and Azerbaijan Karabakh. Well, this region will turn into one big Karabakh. And in response, the Azerbaijani Foreign Ministry stated, quote, it's strange, but Medinsky doesn't know that Karabakh has never been a disputed territory. We would like to remind you that Karabakh is a long-standing and integral part of Azerbaijan. Russia itself has recognized and continues to recognize Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan's territory. It is unacceptable to compare Russia's war against Ukraine with the conflict in Karabakh, since Azerbaijan has never violated the territorial integrity of any country and has never waged an aggressive war against any state. We recommend that Medinsky refrain from damaging interstate relations with such erroneous statements on issues that are beyond his authority. And don't forget how, in December of last year, Russia shot down an Azerbaijan Airlines plane, after which they came up with various versions to blame someone else for this tragedy. Therefore, as we can see, the tension between Azerbaijan and Russia is only increasing. Well, and Russian Nazis continue to show who really needs to be denazified. So I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. Russians who come here to write comments, don't bother. All your comments will be blocked immediately and you'll be banned. Because nobody is interested in the Russian opinion on this channel at all. That's all. Take care of yourselves. Bye everyone.